International Film Festival. Delighted to be joined by Carlo, the director of Ruffians. Tell us a little bit about Ruffian.
Yeah, delighted to be here. Ruffians is a short documentary about a barber who is actually my barber, in fact. And I met him about a year ago and discovered that he had quite an interesting story because during lockdown he found himself struggling with mental health issues himself and felt quite isolated. And when he returned back to society, like all of us, he realised that a lot of people themselves had been struggling with issues, and he was able to help them through creating a safe space for men to talk about their own issues, and through that actually grew in confidence and discovered that he had a calling.
And it was really interesting in the documentary, you see him cutting mannequins' hair. So obviously during lockdown, you couldn't go and get your hair cut. That was his livelihood gone.
Yeah.
But he obviously, being a very high quality hairdresser, wanted to make sure he didn't lose that.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, sort of seeing that aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's actually one of Britain's best barbers. He's won the award for being one of the best barbers in the UK, which was not something I wanted to necessarily focus on, but he was worried that he was going to lose all of his skills. And just visually, the image of him in a room by himself for months on end, cutting a mannequin's head initially attracted me to the story. So I think also just psychologically, he went from spending all day on his feet talking to people over and over and over again, often talking to people about their relationships or deep feelings, and then suddenly he was isolated and he found himself just staring at a mannequin. And what he realised is that although his strength comes from his skill set as a barber, what he's actually really good at is interacting with people and listening to people. So that was what I wanted to focus on.
And did he notice that was something that changed after lockdown? Is that people were opening up a lot more with him? Because you sort of allude to in the film that a lot of the people who sort of come to his barbershop, that was the first time he would be the first interaction they maybe had after they came out of lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. I think the most interesting point in the film for me was when he speaks about coming back and losing his stamina with dealing with people, because everyone had spent so long, being isolated. I mean, obviously people maybe had families, but there are a lot of people, particularly in London, who live by themselves in his community, and he's an example of that. So it was an opportunity for people to offload, and he found at the end of the day he was exhausted because people were, telling them about serious issues. But that was also what helped him get over some of his issues in turn, because he realised that he was able to help. To this day, I think that what I really wanted to focus on was just him being a really good listener, because a lot of people, I think struggle with being heard. So that's really his strength.
Cool. And ultimately, was this just a way for you to get free haircuts?
I got free haircuts for about 6 months, but then I started to feel bad, so so I started paying again. But now I regret that because they've gone up in price.
And how much are you looking forward to sharing it with our audience in Nottingham today?
Yeah, it's the first time I'm going to see it on screen, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, thanks so much for having me.